Roadmap to success, anyone?
Is that included in the swag bag?
Unfortunately. Well, I cannot make any guarantees. I can at least instill the confidence that you know more now than when you entered this room. So, navigating the industry and how to stand out. Fortunately, you're all at square one. Here in school, you're joined with DeFRAG and the College of Computing and Digital Media at DePaul University, and guess what? You're one step ahead of all the rest of the kids who are eager to become game developers, but haven't chosen a school or a career path yet. And honestly, we have a bit more of an advantage than the trailblazers of the early video game era, because video games were unheard of. You know, they were hobbyists. What we have here is an actual career area that has been defined by them. So we have resources that they never had access to, and people thought they were crazy. But while you're here, there's a whole lot more going on out there. Global Game Jam, GDC, Games for Change, Extra Life Bit Bash, and IGDA are just a few examples of the many organizations out there that are revolved around gaming. And these are resources for us as budding developers, for us to go out and actually network. And that's what we're here to talk about today. These various organizations and events are a great way to get involved. Along with social network and the internet, those are great for reaching out, but it will be an expectation to make an appearance to these events in order to start what I call a baseline of trust. And that's why it's important to network as soon as possible. It's going to help you build familiarity among these professionals so that you'll be hireable when the time comes to actually start marketing yourself and looking for work. In most cases, this industry is very well networked, that applicants that get hired at studios usually already know someone at the studio that they're applying to. Or they were at least referred by a professional that is familiar with that studio. And so the sooner you start, the wider your network's going to be. The baseline of trust. How do you do that? How do you establish a baseline of trust with complete strangers, people that you are trying to impress and get to know? Well, you do stuff together. Karaoke, dance parties, escape rooms, which are like the modern day trust falls, and laser tag, anything that has a shared meaningful experience builds trust and unity. And after a while, you can try kicking things up a notch. Once you get to know these people over time, you can do more strenuous activities together, because research shows that simulated high-pressure situations help prepare groups for the real deal. And anyone here who's ever done capstone, game jams, any kind of group project knows that things can get pretty tense. So it'd be an excellent opportunity to show potential cohorts in the future how you handle that stress. And I wouldn't fret too much about the first impression, because not everyone warms up immediately. We being gamers, artists, programmers, we're used to working individually for the most part. But that's a certainty that you're going to encounter some apprehension along the way. But in the end, transparency is always the best policy, because even when we don't necessarily like someone, we're still hardwired to find similarities in each other in order to understand those differences. Evolution, people. Biology. It exists. Once you've broken that ice and cast a wide enough net, it's time to finally start selling yourself. Now, I don't mean prostitution. Well, it could be. But self-marketing is basically you are marketing your core competency. It's you'll have generated enough interest among professional developers to see what you have to offer them. It's at this point that you want to bring your core competency to light, and it's a harmonized combination of resources and skills that you make distinguishable. Now, if you're not sure what that is, I can narrow it down. It provides potential access to a wide variety of markets, should be able to make a significant contribution to clients and teams, and is difficult to imitate by competitors. It's basically what makes you worth hiring. And you can showcase that through the portfolio, resume, cover letter, and business card. The portfolio. It doesn't have to be a paid domain website. WordPress and Wix are fine examples of free places to have an online portfolio. You can eventually upgrade to your own domain later once you've started a streamline of income to pay for those fees. And the same goes for things like personal professional email. Creating an online presence is key. You want to be easily searchable through things like Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So do a Google test on yourself. If you can't search it, you need to change your domain name. Like we can take my name for example. My last name is Graves. If I decided to do a personal portfolio and try and give it some flashy name like Gravesite or something, they're not going to find me, nor are they really going to take me seriously. It's best to use your own name or whatever professional name you go by. It helps to also have your social network linked to your online profile in some way, like placing icons on the page or linking the site to your profile. What you put on there is really up to you. It's your personal domain. It's where you're showcasing all your finest work, and so you pretty much have complete creative control over the content. But make sure that the layout is easy to navigate. The more polish you have, the better. And include brief write-ups explaining your design process. In most cases, avant-garde artists will argue that it's better to just have your art speak for itself. But we're game developers. We have a creative process that's very unique, and we need to explain our processes to other potential employers because that process needs to mesh with their process. And I could not emphasize this enough. Do not skimp on documents. Show your GDDs, your production plans, your burn down charts, and your backlogs. Employers love to see how you plan things out. Until you're gainfully employed, you're your own producers anyway. So this is a common practice that you should be doing for every major project that you tackle. And feel free to diversify your work as much as you like, but leave out experimental works in progress, complete works only. And also to avoid anyone ripping off your work, don't make project files available for download, and always watermark your images. Also, sometimes employers don't really have the time to play through your executable programs. Like if you have a game demo that's available to play, it would just be helpful to them to have video recordings of any of those, and either directly posted or linked to a YouTube channel that's easy for them to access. Last but not least, your bio. Some of you may or may not know what a CV is. It stands for Curriculum Vitae, which is Latin for Journey Through Life. And it's a resume that's basically your complete employment, academic, volunteer history. It's known to be quite long. You could also you could visit Professor Brian Schrank's website, and he has his CV posted, and it's like 5 pages long. It's meant to really showcase what your whole professional background is. But in the end, when you start looking for employees, you're going to stick with one of these 3 types of resumes. The combination is the most popular, I think, because it's a combination of both the chronological and the functional. Combination, as you can see, I'm not going to read this to you. You all can read. But it's meant to highlight all your skills and include the work summary and history. Pro is it's flexible. Con is it gets repetitive. But everyone should still use it because it's excellent for career changers. Us being college students, we're always dabbling, trying new things, jumping from part-time job to part-time job that can be entirely unrelated to the career that we're actually going for while we're in school. And so this is the kind of resume that employers would expect to see from you. Chronological is more for like the kind of the already gainfully employed who's just looking for the next advancement in their careers. So it highlights all their work history and skills, and solid career activity and progression. But if you do have a spotty career history, that would stand out. But it's not likely that you would really show that on a chronological resume anyway if you were doing that. Chances are those career issues are usually pretty easily covered up with things like volunteer work and such. Functional, don't waste your time. No work history, no education. It's meant to just highlight skills only. It's mostly for menial jobs and entry-level positions that don't require any kind of experience. They're mostly useful for first job applicants, otherwise nobody should really be using them. But whatever you decide to pick, don't do the cookie cutter approach. You don't want to send the same resume to the same employers that you're trying to find work with. They notice that. When you get to the cover letter, that's your time to really shine your experience and bring out your, the unique flavor that you bring to the table. Just don't ever copy and paste yourself. And also, font matters. You should avoid bold and serif typefaces. They appear messy. Sans serif looks cleaner and more modern. Just keep all the information relevant to the position for which you're applying. And again, don't worry if your history is sparse because you can fill it with other experiences like your volunteer work, student organizations, and you can even put game jams on resumes. Those actually are a really great way to fill in those voids. Other details to consider, professional email and address and website. Don't include any puns. Don't link social media or LinkedIn. That's like putting a resume on a resume. You don't want to do that. But you'd be surprised on how much power a business card has. There's a strange sense of status in it once you've obtained a business card. It's psychological. The card should always look clean and professional with space to write on. It should be on you at all times, stored in multiple places. Like when I was at GDC, I had one in my shirt pocket, my back pocket, my wallet, my front pocket, my backpack. It was always handy to have it readily available to you to just whip out at the end of a conversation and just say, here, take my card, we'll talk later. It's a little strange and awkward if you're fumbling through your pockets trying to get at a card that's just out of reach while you're running from one workshop to another, and so it leaves a much better impression when showing that kind of preparedness.